Sup flappers, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Bao, Raiden Shogun, her best teams. Well, technically they're not the absolute end-all be-all best teams, but these are the teams that I've found that when I play through the game, they offer different aspects of Raiden that both shine and also buffs the rest of her team very well. And they're very free to play friendly, but of course with these best team videos, of course there's going to be a couple teams where it's mostly a whale team, and not only do the synergies work really well, but it's just characters themselves are already top-notch to begin with, and when you smash a bunch of really top-notch characters into one team, chances are it's going to be good. However, not everyone's going to be having these teams. Now, furthermore, I understand that if your team is not in this video, it doesn't mean that the team is bad per se. It's just I cannot get through every single iteration of team variants. So sometimes when you see characters like Venti, Sucrose, or Kazuha ever, you can interchange them with each other because they essentially do the same thing. It's just they do it in different ways. So be on the lookout for proper alternatives or people you can switch in and out of to make sure that your team ends up being something that you are comfortable playing with. Now, one last thing before I get into it, do understand a lot of teams require you to understand what you're doing to get full access to how powerful they are. For example, there are scenarios where you don't need to really bring a dedicated healer and instead just have a Xingqiu on your team. But for most players, I understand that you will not be able to survive the onslaught of Abyss 12 if you simply just bring a Xingqiu on your team. Yes, you can get a lot of damage out of it, but if you cannot pilot it well and survive through the onslaught, then it essentially kind of defeats the purpose, right? You have to be able to survive to do the damage. Okay, with that said, let's get into the first team we have here. Call it the Fancy Feast. We have Eula, main DPS, Bao, support DPS, Fiona, healer, and Fischl support. You have double resonance for Cryo and Electro, so that's going to be really solid both for DPS and for support. This team is exactly how it looks. It's a super conduct team that centers around physical damage for Eula and at times for Fischl if you really need to, but we also have Raiden Shogun here providing great not only support damage but also on-field damage as well. So this team could be thought of essentially as a triple threat team, but Fischl and Raiden provide some amazing off-field support capabilities for a hyper carry such as Eula herself. On soon you will be able to see some demonstrations of this team, although it isn't the best team you can be running with Raiden Shogun, but I do think this is a semi free-to-play friendly with 2 4-stars, 2 5-stars, and likely if you're watching this video, you already have Raiden Shogun. So if you are a Eula owner as well, this is definitely a team you could be considering to run. It has a dedicated healer as well and a shielder in Diona. So I would say this team is Abyss ready. Followed by that team, we have the second team called Fireworks. This is a team that's centered around the Pyro Resonance around Yoimiya and Bennett, also with Zhongli's superb support capabilities. We have Raiden running here with Overload, and she kind of takes more of a backseat as Yoimiya is going to be dealing the bulk of the damage, and Overload is going to be stacking up really quickly in this team. And it's definitely one of those quick-paced, action-heavy machine gun squads that you're going to be seeing quite a number of people run if you actually see they have Zhongli and Yoimiya. Bennett right here is also a great centerpiece to kind of lock everything together, because I truly believe if you want your teams to be Abyss ready, Abyss 12 ready, you need some sort of a hyper healer where they fill not just one role like just healing like Barbara. They also have to be able to do some sort of damage or buff the team, protect the team, some sort of secondary role that fits into one character. But I don't think I need to focus on this team too much. There's going to be a demonstration on screen. It's very straightforward. You just use Zhongli's shield, lay down Bennett's burst, and you use Raiden's elemental skill and go to Yoimiya. Shoot, 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 shoot. I think this team likely is going to be the easiest team to pilot for most players on this entire team list. Alright, with that said, let's move on to the next team. The third team, I call it the stutter stepping because you're going to be focused around an electro charged playstyle running with Bao, Raiden Shogun as your main DPS, Xingqiu support DPS, Bennett healer once again, and we got Kujou Sara this time in the support position. This is a hyper buffing team to assure that the Raiden Shogun can have as much damage as humanly possible, Also understand that you have to play around Raiden's resolve passive if you want to get the most damage out of her, and most of the time people likely just throw out her burst skill and hack and slash, hoping to do as much damage as you can, but damage is quite limited and the number of hits is likely to have little variance because it's hard capped by her attack speed. So how do you get more damage is really through proper cycling of burst skills and through characters such as Bennett and Kujosara, where they can buff your damage. And of course Xingqiu is here to constantly proc that electro charge. You'll find that a lot of the times the enemies can't really even move unless they're big elite mobs. So definitely give this team a try if electro charge is your type of deal. Moving onwards, we have another team. I call it the Lethal Boy. This is going to be centered around another electro charge team, but instead of Raiden Shogun, we have Tartaglia Childe. They actually will be sharing the field time half and half along with Bennett and of course Xiangling for that pyro resonance. And Xiangling's pyronado usually has a very long uptime, but especially this, you have a double pyro, which means you have Bennett as a battery, and we got Raiden Shogun herself being able to fill up Xiangling's burst skill, and she will pair quite well with Tartaglia's high frequency attacks. So especially if you have your Xiangling at Constellation 4, this team is absolutely bonkers. I heavily suggest people try it out if you are a Childe enthusiast.
Hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Wait, that came out wrong. Let me take that back. A Tartaglia enthusiast player. Do give this team a try. You won't regret it. Now we have the last team. Now this team is quite stacked. I call it the Demonic Pursuit. It centers around Xiao as the main DPS, and there are a couple variations to this one, so stick with me. What you're seeing right now is the first iteration where you got Xiao, you got Kazuha. They work very well with each other, and Kazuha provides a decent amount of energy particles for Xiao. Not to mention Raiden Shogun is here as well, and we have Bennett, of course, to buff Xiao during his burst state and to keep him alive, because we don't have a shielder in this particular squad. So one variance we have of this is we take away Kazuha and Bennett, but instead we put in Albedo and we put in Jean. So here we have a very solid variance of this squad, where Jean, Xiao, still you get that battery for Xiao, because simply Raiden Shogun, unless you have her really well built, she just doesn't generate enough for Xiao to have the best uptime. So you do need an Anemo character, and Jean fulfills that role very well. And we have Albedo now with Raiden Shogun layering more damage onto Xiao to make sure that during his on-field state, you have as much damage from your team pumped in as humanly possible. There's very little waste here, and everyone is constantly doing something for the team. Finally, we have one more iteration of this team, and it's very standard. It's just switching Bao into the support DPS position and adding in Sucrose. I mean, it's pretty straightforward why this one is also a great way to play this squad. If you don't have Kazuha, then you can't bring him as your support DPS, so then you move Raiden from the support into the support DPS position, meaning she gets more field time, and share it instead with Xiao, and having Sucrose to act as the main battery and Viridescent Shred support in this squad. So with that said, these are all the teams that I think everybody should be trying out. Yes, the last one had more variation because, especially for pairing with Xiao, there's just a lot of good Anemo characters currently right now. You can run with them. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think, what teams you guys are running, and if you guys have variations for any of these teams, also please do leave them in the comment below. With that said, my name's Erotic Walrus. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, stay safe and peace.